what happens is you become a woman who actually feels the way a woman feels when she's attracted to a man. And a guy...
Is he drunk?
With a dick like a battering ram.
Let me try.
It's just going to send it home.
See what happens.
And you can't wait. You want to feel...
Why did he use that simile?
I don't know.
A dick like a battering ram? Like, he could have just said having sex with a man. He didn't have to, like, describe some perfect horse cock inside of him.
Right. Him come inside your upper rib cavity.
I want to feel it. Sign me up.
What the fuck?
Have you watched, by any chance, the Elephant Graveyard channel?
What's that?
Oh my gosh. So it's this Canadian dude. You don't know what he looks like. Just funny. Cheers.
Cheers.
Takedowns of comics. And he did one on Joe Rogan that got like super viral.
Should we watch it?
Yes. His channel's really weird, but it's addictive.
Finally, the time has come. The comedy event of the year finally arrived. It's been 6 long years since we got a brand new hour of material from comedy's most valiant defender, the great and powerful Joe Rogan. Every era of comedy has its greats, guys. And you may not like it, but Joe is inarguably one of the greats now. He is the biggest and most successful comic on earth, and the valiant leader of the highly endangered 250 comics. In case you don't know what I'm talking about and have had your head planted firmly in the sand for the past 6 years, there are only 250 comics left in the entire world.
Because there's so few of us. And worldwide, we were talking about this the other day, there's maybe 500 of us on the planet. You know, you got to be real generous and say 500 because it's really probably about 250.
Whoa.
Right. But legit comics, guys you want to hang out with, guys who are fun.
Please say you want to hang out with me. And the future looks grim for the 250, sadly. Only a couple years ago, there were still 2,000 of them, which isn't a lot, but still. They're dwindling fast, suffering many, many casualties, but Joe's doing his best to protect them, which is admirable, considering he's the greatest stand-up comedian of our time. As you can see, he's earned his spot amongst heroes like Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, Bill Hicks, all these guys. And maybe you disagree, but we have no objective way to measure the quality of a comic other than by their revenue.
I have what you call fuck you money.
So this multimillionaire is by far the best of the best. My parents had George Carlin and Richard Pryor. My grandparents had acts like the Marx Brothers, Red Skelton, and Al Jolson. And we are truly blessed, because we get to exist on this planet at the same time as guys like Andrew Schultz.
Now that right there was a seamless transition into an ad if I've ever seen one before. Flawless perfection, and you deserve it, but so does betonline.ag.
Bert Kreischer.
He's the worst.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Hello, I'm Tony Hinchcliffe. Come check out Kill Tony tonight. Watch me do magical stuff like this.
I would dog like a motherfucking dog. Everybody knows that you need a hug. What's up, bitch? I'm a motherfucking lobster.
Nailed it.
And of course, their comedy father, who keeps them all well fed like little birdies in a nest, Joe Rogan. Thank him. This thing was shot in San Antonio, Texas, where those few brave warriors once defended the Alamo in that big battle. It's a lot like the 250 defenders of comedy. Against all odds, they prevailed. And thank Christ they did, because otherwise we would never have been blessed with this wonderful comedy special, Burn the Boats. Now it's been 6 years since our man Joe released a stand-up special. The last one was back in 2018. Strange Times, which again is definitely one of the greats, as you can see here on this wall that you can find inside Joe's Comedy Club. The Comedy Mothership.
This is so well done.
Oh yeah, it really is.
Like
I'm gonna start watching all of these guys. What's his name? Some
Elephant Graveyard. It is every video on his channel is fucking gold.
He's only got 150K.
I don't know why he doesn't have 5 million. He's a 5 million, except it's weird humor. Like
you have to be kind of witty to understand some of this,
right? Because he's got a lot of hate from this, like the Rogan heads.
Yeah,
they're all like, "You don't get his humor."
You know, the meatheads that think like fucking a stool is funny.
You hadn't even gotten started yet
on the stool. Just talk about Rogan's bit.
We're only 10% in, buddy. Strap in. I mean, I love Joe Rogan. He's just not funny. on a stage.
He isn't, but he's a good conversationist.
Yeah, he's a good conversationalist. I would totally agree with that.
He's good at conforming to everyone's ideals. Like, if someone's on his podcast and they have a controversial opinion, I feel like most of the time he agrees with them to get the conversation rolling, which is how you maintain a good podcast.
Yeah. We would know.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. Somebody was pointing out that he doesn't ask questions, and that's his secret sauce. Like, he just makes statements, and then he lets them react to his statements.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe he took 6 years to write an hour of comedy, but you know Joe. He has to get in there and hammer away at these jokes, finely honed like Damascus steel.
I'm always interested in the writing process.
Yeah, why? What is yours? You just go, right? Like,
I can type, so I don't have to look at the keys, which is nice.
Oh, wow.
I don't type great, but I type okay.
Enough.
As you're writing each individual word, you're pausing in time.
yeah.
And you're in a time lapse. And you get to consider each and every possible way you would say something from that word.
But he's high, right?
He's got to be.
Because he's talking like the.
Yeah, and he's like.
He's not a very bright individual, is he?
I mean, I actually think he's smart. It's just when he's high or drunk, his mind really slows down.
Like anyone.
Right. You don't get high and then go on a microphone and talk to 80 million people. Do you see the difference?
That is true. But I think people like to see him smoke weed because it's like. A bunch of people my age and younger are like, oh, he's smoking dope.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Exactly.
Yeah.
Carry on.
While you're writing that word.
Yeah.
And there's a physical task of doing that with your keys and your fingers that makes you concentrate.
Yes.
Because it fires up your synapses and makes you think that you're doing this with your fingers. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
You can't just shit out a bunch of jokes and expect them to be any good.
Yeah.
Joe is a man of quality, so 6 years it is. It took Michelangelo 4 years to complete the painting of the Sistine Chapel ceiling. And it's pretty good, I guess, but imagine if he had spent 2 more years on it. Imagine how much better it could be. Guys, I've said it before and I'll say it again because nobody ever seems to fucking listen to me, but quality takes time. Like dry-aged ribeyes, or a dram of that wonderful Lafroig whiskey. If you have a triple-digit IQ, you'll be able to wait patiently, knowing that despite the difficulty in waiting, the results will be worthwhile in the end. Now, a lot has happened in the life of Joe Rogan over the past 6 years. It's been arguably the most dramatic 6 years of his life. Since 2019, he has found himself in some hot water many, many times.
Troubling video sparking the uproar went viral over the weekend, and we should warn you, it's difficult to watch.
And to help cope with the adversity he's had to face, he's redesigned his entire personality, becoming a brand new guy, which is commendable.
Texas went red, bitch! There you go. See, now that's
But with this new guy that he's become, he's also attracted millions and millions of new fans thanks to his wonderful podcast. And apparently, despite it being Joe's justification for existing, a lot of these people aren't even aware that Joe does stand-up comedy.
Did you know that?
Know that what?
That Joe Rogan does stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, because Hannah, I think, was like, I didn't even know he did comedy. I thought he was just a podcaster and like Fear Factor.
No, I think most people know, but I'm very involved in all of that. Also, well, the fact that he's from Austin, I lived in Austin for 5 years. I know a lot about him. I know he, invented the comedy mothership. No, but I like that Elephant Graveyard, the commentator of this video is pointing out when he says Joe Rogan's fans, it goes straight to this guy.
Right.
That's good bullshit.
Joe shared a few promotional posts advertising the event, and a lot of the commenters, the haters, I should say, well, they had a lot to say about the quality of Joe's comedy act. And many of the rest were just confused why this guy was suddenly doing a stand-up special out of nowhere, which is pretty interesting. You hate to see it, but maybe it's just because he's been away so long. Maybe they just forgot. I mean, we haven't seen Michael Jordan dunk a basketball in over 20 years. And even with him, it's easy to forget how good he was. So I can understand forgetting how funny our king really is, but that's no excuse to be rude. I'm afraid some of this animosity was getting to Joe, who admits he is so fragile that he can't even watch his own specials, which isn't exactly a great way to improve your routine, but what do I know? He looked incredibly nervous and without confidence as he promoted this thing on his podcast leading up to it.
Okay. I have to announce, because Netflix is making me announce this, that I have a Netflix special that's live Saturday night from San Antonio.
Oh.
So it's going to be live all over the world.
I've seen your set. It's really funny.
It's tight now. It's good. It's like I'm very happy with it.
How long has it been since you dropped the special?
6 years.
Wait, dude, seriously?
Yeah, I was ready to do one in August of 2020. Then I just started changing a lot of bits and moving stuff around. And I'm like, I don't want to do one right now.
But not everyone was negative about it. Some comedy fans were thrilled and chomping at the bit to be part of a wonderful live comedy experience from the comfort of their very own homes. Thank you, Netflix, for all you've done for comedy.
I've prepared for this probably more than anything I have, maybe in my life, but definitely in recent memory. I've been going at it hard.
Okay, well, sounds like Joe is ready, and I am too, so let's prepare to laugh. Take notes, liberals. Wow, and there he is, wearing a very beautiful, delicate, flowing mustard blouse. He looks gorgeous. Ah, and there's the stool. God, that's exciting to see. I hope he utilizes that stool tonight. He has to, right? Chekhov's stool.
State, I've been living here for 4 years. I fucking love it. I love it here.
Okay, well, right off the bat, he does seem a little nervous still, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs.
I want to sell kayaks.
Now, I'm not sure if he's confused or what, but he's shouting full blast the same way he does when he's doing commentary for UFC events, when he's surrounded by an arena full of thousands of screaming fans. Maybe he's been doing too much UFC, not enough stand-up, and his wires got all bungled up there, and he forgot which gig he was at.
Never moving. The only adjustment I've ever
Oh, wait,
made
okay, there he goes.
is Texas weed.
Suddenly it all clicked, and he remembered this is a comedy show. The audience is quiet, and there's no need to shout the whole time. Great.
Texas weed is different.
Yeah, that's better. Good job, Joe. You can do it. You got this.
Texas weed is grown on Texas soil.
Now, almost right off the bat, Joe goes into tackling the topic of weed. Now, weed, if you don't know, is a serious crime in Texas, the land of the free. If you get caught with that stuff, they literally lock you up in a prison with scary criminal murder guys, mutilators, violators, all those types. But lucky for Joe, he got around this issue by simply becoming friends with their wheelchair governor guy called Greg. What a lucky guy. So there's some advice for my fellow partakers down in Texas. Just get in with this guy, jiggle his flaccid dangler, and you'll get the green light to bun to your heart's content. It's actually really easy. So Joe is sticking to his tried and true handful of topics. He mentioned weed. And here he gets onto the topic of aliens again, one of Joe's favorite subjects.
I'm very invested in aliens being real. If they're not, I'm going to feel so fucking stupid.
Yeah, Joe is definitely going to feel real stupid if aliens are proven to be fake. Say what you want about Joe, but when he's proven wrong, even though he might feel a bit dumb, he takes it in stride and laugh. Continue.
This is harsh.
It's like I'm like sweating right now because I have secondhand embarrassment for Joe.
What the fuck just happened?
Holy shit, where have I seen that face before? Let me dig into the files here, I think I know. Oh my god, it's him.
I think aliens look at us the same way we look at Waffle House fights.
Now, we all know Joe has never been inside a Waffle House, so how does he know about Waffle House fights? From social media, of course. Joe is a rabid user of social media, especially Twitter. And despite being a detached millionaire who mostly hangs out with the retired Navy SEAL security guards he keeps around him at all times, there are many, many accounts Joe follows that allow him to keep his finger on the pulse of the, quote, real world, like these ones. I call this genre of account Poverty Safari. There are many of them that let you vicariously explore things like the hoods of Detroit or the homeless camps of LA. The problem with Joe is that this is all he looks at, all the time, and he has constructed inside his mind a very distorted model of the world around him, which he never actually sees in real life. It's a lot like Plato's cave. If you've got a triple-digit IQ, you already know what that's about. But if not, Plato's cave is an allegory, look it up, for the way our brains interpret data from our senses and construct a model of reality that informs the way we think, feel, and behave. In the story, it's explained that we all resemble captives who are chained deep within a cavern and who do not yet realize that there is more to reality than the shadows they see against the wall. So Joe's social media feed is his cave, and the first evidence of that is seen here with this Waffle House remark, 6 years. Well, with a few of his regular subjects out of the way, Joe veers into a topic that's going to permeate a lot of this special. Ass play. I don't want to sound like a broken record as we've spoken before about Carl Jung and the shadow self, so just to make it quick. We all have an inner shadow self inside our psyches that contains all the hidden aspects of our personalities, the self's emotional blind spot, the part of you that your ego does not want to acknowledge, all the things we do not wish to be. But to become a fully actualized person, those aspects need to be assimilated somehow. And if not assimilated, the repressed shadow will find all sorts of ways to leak out subconsciously. And as you'll see in this bit, whether he wants to do this or not, Joe's obsession with ass play gets put front and center. So here we're about to see some clear shadow leakage as Joe graphically describes the unbridled pleasure of anal probing.
First off, the writing is phenomenal.
It's so good. You can tell this guy's a writer.
Yeah.
Especially like this 3 levels deep humor.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like he's
very
pretending
sarcastic.
he's pretending to like Joe Rogan and give him, but it's just brutal.
But you can tell that he's totally making fun of him.
Yeah.
Imagine if you have your greatest orgasm ever on an operating table on a spaceship. Oh, Jesus! Make him just jizz all over himself. Just, oh, Jesus! Oh, God!
Greatest orgasm ever, he says. Well, that may be so, but Joe, you don't need to wrap that admission up inside a story about aliens. It's not a surprise, guys, if you've been studying Joe Rogan as long as I have. You'll remember the time he publicly opined on how great it would be to become a woman and get fucked by some guy.
I know you well enough to know. You, Joe Rogan, if there was a technology that could instantly turn you into a woman, you wouldn't hesitate to turn into
I'd like
a
to
woman.
feel a dick inside me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Wait, what?
Is this real?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's gotta be. They're
Seen
probably
this part.
deep into some crazy conversation because this guy right here, the guy speaking, I don't remember his name, but he's big on psychedelics. He made that animation. It's like a podcast that he turned into an animation. It's actually a pretty cool show, especially if you're high.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. I'll put up a picture of it right now, but it's fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
As a woman,
yeah, and
I don't think it made me gay. What happens is you become a woman who actually feels the way a woman feels when she's attracted to a man, and a guy
Is he drunk?
with a dick like a battering ram.
Let me try.
He's just gonna send it home.
See what happens.
And you can't wait. You want to feel.
Why did he use that simile?
I don't know.
A dick like a battering ram? Like, he could have just said having sex with a man. He didn't have to like describe some perfect horse cock inside of him.
Right.
Him come inside your upper rib cavity.
I want to feel it. Sign me up. The point is, like, you would do it.
Men.
What the fuck?
He looks really shit-faced here.
Yeah, he does. Look at his eyes.
The weakest among us would be scared of that experience.
Right. Well,
they'd be scared that that experience weakens them and turns them into something that they dismiss.
I would like to feel what it's like to be pregnant.
Really?
Yeah. I wonder if amyl nitrate does that. Like, that's the reason why gay guys like poppers.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it
opens them
relaxes your asshole muscles.
Is that true? Or
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's part of. It's like a feeling of euphoria and also relaxing your asshole muscles.
Or how he enjoys engaging in oral sex with a penis from time to time.
Yeah, I can suck my own dick if I wanted to.
No, you cannot.
Super flexible.
You can't.
No,
Yes.
you
That far.
You know I can.
Okay, that's just some context for you as we examine this next sequence.
That's how they get cum out of donkeys.
Oof. Okay. Unfortunately, now it sounds like the crowd's initial excitement and enthusiasm is running on fumes, as we've got our first real obvious awkward bomb of the night. The crowd goes completely silent and Joe just stands there like a deer in headlights. But Joe manages to salvage it by stooping to the lowest form of conversation. Remember when?
I used to host Fear Factor. And,
Oh, yeah.
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And now, I don't know if this is from excitement and arousal, or from nervousness and fear, likely some combination of both.
Buckets of cum.
But this is the moment Joe starts profusely sweating through the mustard blouse. Perhaps it's nerves from some subconscious realization that his shadow is about to take the wheel and squirt out a major leak here. Pay attention to this region here and watch how it develops throughout the show. And by the way, oh man, look at that stool behind him just teasing us back there. Stop teasing us, Joe. He knows how to build suspense, that's for sure. Ah man, we are only 5 minutes into this thing and I am just dying for some stool work. We'll have to settle for some ass work for now, I guess.
Take a cattle prod and you stick it up the donkey's ass and you shock his prostate and they just bust. And then I was like, what does that feel like? What if it's your favorite thing? Like,
There's that
you
leakage.
can't even tell anybody.
It's too bad for Joe. He's too old and his brain is far too calcified to become a new guy in this aspect of his life. It's too deeply rooted. But someone should tell Joe that it's okay to just enjoy that stuff. It's no big deal anymore, Joe. Ass play has gone mainstream. Don't worry about it.
Should we keep hammering? Should we keep hammering?
Keep hammering? What's that?
But instead he settles for keeping it a secret, while releasing a little shadow pressure by revealing his deepest desires live on Netflix for millions of people under the guise of donkeys and aliens. It works for now, but it's not a viable long-term strategy. Now, and I can't believe this, but he's going to bail on his set, and we know he's bailing because Joe has said for years that once he's done a joke on a special, he retires it and never does it again. So here he's really starting to bomb, and is so terrified that he's going to break his own code and fall back into some tried and true material. He is going to Mencia himself here and regurgitate a bit from his 2009 special, Talking Monkeys in Space.
And I'm watching porn on the computer. My girlfriend just opens up the door. You did it while I'm at home. She was really sad about that. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, I do it while you're sleeping right next to me. She goes, I can't believe you did it while I'm at home. And I'm like, I do it while you're sleeping right next to me.
Oh man, that's a finely aged 15-year-old classic bit. I'm a little surprised that Rogan broke his code here, but our behavior can change dramatically when faced with an existential crisis like bombing this bad. For example, when people are in the midst of drowning, someone jumps in to save them. The drowner often ends up inadvertently and tragically murdering their rescuer amid the struggle to save themselves. You do what you gotta do, and I guess when you bomb hard enough, you do what you gotta do to survive too. But unfortunately, that can often be self-defeating.
Here's the thing about jerking off. Everybody does it, but if you get caught, you're a fucking loser.
Uh-oh, this actually sounds like a cope. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but I grew up without an uncle, and that has gifted me with the ability to detect copes. And this has to be a cope. This is way too personal.
You're a fucking loser.
And by the way, not to nitpick, but have you noticed that this is Joe's new default face? Does this look like the face of somebody who's enjoying what they're doing? To me, this face confirms that his heart is not in this anymore, and I just don't get it. Like, why is he still trying to do stand-up? What's the point?
I can't keep doing this.
And man, the sweat stain is evolving rapidly. He's very nervous, and judging by the way he can't stop screaming, he's likely hopped up on stimulants and booze. Joe forgot to mention that also during COVID, he became a bloated alcoholic.
Is somehow or another better than Joe.
Oh, God damn it, I'm sorry. I gotta stay positive. Joe, you're doing great.
Is it?
Joe then goes into a little story about going through airport security high on mushrooms and how wacky that was before swiftly pivoting right into his other passion, the trans.
Men get pregnant. I'm willing to say pregnant men. I just don't think it's a good. I think you need extra words. Maybe we should use extra words.
Oh no, there's that silence again. Hearing more and more of that as the audience grows weary.
Trans women are women. How about most? How about almost all? You gotta leave room for crazy. Oh. Just jokes, folks.
You know, when they put this line in the trailer for this thing, I thought he must have said something truly edgy. But now I'm seeing it as actually a massive cope, uttered during a major bombing.
Just jokes, folks. No one's getting hurt.
Notice that sniff there? That is one of Joe's tells. He does it on the podcast all the time. It's a nervous tick that comes out when he feels awkward about something embarrassing he just said. We all have our tells and ticks, guys. Mine used to be that I'd look to the side. But I got over it and am back on the straight and narrow.
Disrespectful motherfucker.
Oh, wait. Oh my God. Yes, he's approaching the stool. Here we go, yes. Now's his chance to win him back. No, damn it, just another tease. And by the way, why didn't Joe film this in his comedy spaceship? That's too bad. I'm surprised he wouldn't want to give the place some easy advertising. Joe is normally very prolific with his advertising work, often able to squeeze several dozen ads into one podcast episode.
I opened up a comedy club in Austin, Texas.
Oh, I knew it. There's the ad. But did you catch the sniff?
Thank you very much.
Guess he's a little ashamed to be doing this, but Joe is the king of slipping ads in everywhere, sometimes without you even noticing. And here he goes shamelessly promoting his club, disguising it as a joke.
I opened up a comedy club in Austin, Texas a year and a half ago.
This is a comedy pop-up ad. It's spam. It wasn't necessary, just a real-life pop-up ad.
Suddenly, every man in a dress is stunning and brave.
Okay, great. I was worried he wasn't going to get back to the trans. Oh, the trans.
You can walk through the women's locker room with a hard cock, and anybody who complains is a Nazi.
Seriously, though, these aren't really jokes. This is all just his regular podcast banter he's been doing for the past 5 years, just yelled on a stage in front of an audience. And the bombs are piling up, that sweat stain is growing, and it is a sad thing. I'm sorry, guys, I tried to be positive, but there is such a thing as toxic positivity. And I gotta say, this special is terrible and beyond salvaging. Possibly career-ending.
You can't just put lipstick on, now you can shit in the women's room. Like, oh my God, all of a sudden it's a hate rally.
Yeah, actually, kinda is. Doesn't help that this guy looks exactly like Mussolini.
I'm not prejudiced. I think it's China. I think they got us with TikTok. Craziest thing is they make our phones. That's supposed to be our enemy, and they make our phones. Do you know how dumb that is? I just want to say, honestly, I admire what they've done.
And now something starts to happen that, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, but Joe actually goes full Brendan Schaub with this wonderful Chinese voice he does here.
Oh, look, there's Harry!
Mr. Schaub, after you numb your lip, you need many, many stitches. This be worse pain in your life.
With all these big criticisms about our infrastructure!
Well, that is rough, but at least he's not straight up copying Brendan's jokes, right?
My life would be so much easier if I was just gay as shit.
I wish I was gay. It looks way easier.
We'd like play video games all day. We'd work out. At night, we'd fuck each other.
You're hanging out with only guys? No one can get pregnant?
That is a low that is so low where I never expected Joe to go. Stealing from Brendan Schaub. My God, if that is not the death knell of a comedy career, then I don't know what is. Brendan Schaub quit comedy after releasing that special, and it only stands to reason that if Joe is stealing from it, then he ought to do the same.
If like a cop went into a series,
He just won't stop screaming.
playing sports,
This joke doesn't need to be yelled. If everything is yelled, then you can't emphasize anything. So this whole thing just kind of becomes white noise. It all just flows and blends together meaninglessly. It's stimulating but meaningless, which is basically what his podcast is, a screensaver for the brains of failed warehouse forklift operators, sat at home chewing on oxys and collecting pogie.
Collecting pogie.
And that's such a good point, that if you just scream everything, then you can't add any emphasis on when you actually do want to scream.
Right.
It's like that one movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like telling the kid, he's like, stop saying fuck all the time. Fuck is a great word. You keep on using it over and over, then you can't use it when you really want to. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And then the kid's like, fuck you. And Jake Gyllenhaal's like, see, I feel nothing and you look like an idiot.
All right, what else did Danny Benito say here?
if you're getting your vaccine advice from me,
Oh, great.
is that really my fault?
Next, he goes into his routine of, I'm just a shithead comedian, don't take me seriously.
I'm a professional shit talker, okay? Don't take my advice.
This special is just PR now, this is not comedy. He knows nobody normal listens to his show anymore, so he can't reach them on his podcast. But normies watch Netflix, and a lot of them are going to be checking out what that guy whose podcast they can't believe they used to listen to, and have to try and remember to whom they admitted listening to it, and cringe with pure embarrassment about that. They want to see what that guy's up to. So this is Joe's chance to get some good damage control in.
They tried to use that quote as proof that I'm homophobic. First of all, it's not true, but if
He's literally just reenacting one of his many Instagram apology soliloquies, and it is just so fucking tedious to listen to. He gets into his famous N-word controversy. And sorry to say, he's still doing that propaganda where he tries to convince everyone that he only said it when quoting other people saying it, which obviously is a lie. Here's a clip from the first ever Joe Rogan podcast.
Once I get the internet to do it, I'll make it HD so you can see how ugly I am. Like, that nigga's ugly.
They forgot to delete that one during Spotify's extensive Operation N-word cleanup.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about context. So, I'm not racist, but if I was gonna quote...
Oh, Joe, you should have just let this one go. This PR is embarrassing.
I'm not a racist. That's what's so insane about this.
I thought everybody would understand. But here's the thing about these words. You can't say them.
Damn, 6 years of honing this material and he's got to pad the back half of the special with PR. Oh, that's bad. But he still doesn't stray too far from the gay stuff, as that shadow continues to seep out.
I love gay men.
Joe's shadow is now in total control and is just leaking all over the place. And now, with the shadow in control here, he's going to steal another joke, this time from Bill Burr.
When you're in your car and the light turns green, but the scooters keep coming, and you just want to go to jail.
I have a lot of fucked up thoughts, man. I do. You ever drive down the street and see like 30 people up on a sidewalk and you just think...
Now that's at least 2 stolen jokes in this special, so that's bad. And this is the guy who got famous for calling out Carlos Mencia for stealing jokes.
If someone steals a riff from a song, that shit's in the news constantly.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers steal shit and make it on HBO.
Netflix.
Put it on television.
Not only did he steal material from Brendan Schaub, but he really just became the new Mencia tonight. I can't believe it. Talk about full circle. The shit hero's journey. So who is going to step up and be the new Joe Rogan to the new Carlos Mencia? I nominate Joe List. Come on, Joe, stand up for comedy. Go after Joe Rogan aggressively, please.
I send my wife pictures of other dudes' dicks.
This is a... Please, Joe, please, we don't need to know this. And as his deepest secrets are spilling out against his will, Joe is fully lactating now.
I want to know the context of why he's shoving something up his ass.
And as his deepest secrets are spilling out against his will, Joe is fully lactating now, leaking both psychically and physically.
San Antonio, I love you to death. Thank you very much.
And now it's all over. It's finally done. 6 years. And they really dipped into the budget for this closing credits music, which sounds like it's ripped straight from the Ken Griffey Jr. game for Super Nintendo. Well, I guess if I had one sentence that could sum this thing up, it'd be...
I hate dumb people that are confident, you know? Oh,
Try again?
I hate dumb people that are wrong and confident.
And now that that's done, every comic on every podcast is going to spend the next 6 months raving about how Joe murdered and killed and massacred and chopped up all the bodies into little tiny chunks, threw them in the Austin River, whatever that's called.
Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Dude, I like it because him saying the N-word, so funny. So funny.
It said the N-word?
Oh, it's so good. It was so good, man.
That's good. That's good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
They'll kiss the ring for that podcast invite, and the cycle of comedy shit will go on and on and on. But, like we've discussed here before, everything has its cycle. Joe has completely run out of ideas, and his mind is ruined by social media. It can happen. It can. Joe has never been very good at comedy, but somehow he gets to be the #1 guy, the big gatekeeper. He's our era's Johnny Carson, and getting the invite to Joe's podcast is the new bringing you over to the couch or whatever. This special will go down as Joe's last. He's like 60 or 70 years old, and it's clear that his heart isn't in it anymore. Every great has their final moments, and sometimes we don't even realize it's a final moment until it's already passed us by. Wayne Gretzky had his final goal, his final shift. Michael Jordan, his final dunk. Elvis, his final song. The last time you ever pick up your son, your final summer sunset. And Joe Rogan, his final stool hump. Gotta go back to 2016. We didn't even realize it at the time, but we were witnessing Joe's final stool fucking. Gotta appreciate every moment like it's the last, guys. He didn't mount that thing once during this special. So disappointing. You gotta play the hits, Joe, come on. And now he's this sad Charles Foster Kane figure. All the money in the world and never satisfied. All his decent friends scared away. The only friends he has left just kiss his ass and tell him he's amazing. That's the only explanation for him thinking this was his greatest set of all time leading up to this live stream. No real friend would allow Joe to gringo poppy himself. Now this Netflix thing is getting panned by just about everyone. And despite Joe insisting that he doesn't read comments, it's obvious that he does. And the feedback from this thing is going to wound him deeply. And the weird thing is, he didn't even need to do this. He's got more money than he knows what to do with. He just did this because he still wants people to think he's funny. This guy literally cries when he talks about becoming a stand-up and getting passed at the Comedy Store. He wants to be a comic so bad, and he's just getting torn apart out there.
Who knows what kind of bullshit act I would have had if I didn't run into Mitzi, if I didn't get past at the store. One of the reasons why she passed me is this a trick that we all used to do. I learned from the Todd. He would sit in the back of the room, and he would sat next to Mitzi while Mitzi watched me, and he would laugh hard. I went up there and I did my set, and he laughed really hard. Mitzi just grabbed my arm. She goes, "You're really funny."
Wow.
I'm calling for spots. You're a paid regular.
Wow.
That was more important to me than any TV show. Like, the TV show was just a lot of money. It was like I couldn't sleep that night. It was like, I'm a paid regular. Like, I'm a real comedian. I'm a real comedian. Real comedian. I'm at the store. I'm a real comedian. I'm at the Comedy Store. Dude, I always knew I was going there. It was a religious call, and the Comedy Store was terrible. And there was all these people that she passed that were like, I'm telling you, talentless.
January 6th, lock them up, lock them all up.
The sad thing is, despite it being the meaning of life or whatever, Joe's legacy will not be his comedy. He will be remembered as the stool humper who won the entertainment industry lottery, then voluntarily let the world collectively watch him go insane on the internet over the course of thousands of hours of podcasting. A cautionary tale of money chasing, Dunning-Kruger, and unreconciled childhood trauma. And now Joe's really painted himself into a corner with this new Guy, Texas project of his. And even his new audience has started to turn on him. Now he's truly up a creek, waist deep in the big muddy, because he made the mistake of expressing a political opinion on his podcast, an alleged holy citadel of free speech. Those new fans of his say he endorsed the wrong guy for president, and they are pissed. Joe's dusted off and wheeled out his apology podium once again, but it's too late. And now Trump is using his sorcery to turn his guys against Joe, even encouraging UFC fans to start booing at the next event. Joe's in a bind, and it's a beautiful bind. If Trump loses, all these guys are going to blame Joe and actively despise him forever. And if Trump wins, well, he has vowed to seek vengeance on all his critics in the media, which now includes Joe, who will only remain safe as long as his Navy SEAL pals stay loyal. Oh boy, that is bad. The world is leaving Joe behind. And just like Johnny Carson, I expect Joe will also become just a reclusive, depressed, rich guy, holed up in his own personal Alamo, surrounded by rock-hard retired Navy SEAL guys just snorting HGH and going on popper-fueled social media binges. Just like Johnny. And before I go, there was one joke I did enjoy.
The funniest way for me to die is if I die from COVID.
Okay, yes, it would. An honest bit, and that was actually a good joke. I enjoyed that. But I do have to disagree. It would be much funnier if he was discovered dead and frozen solid inside his famous ice bath. Just frozen over with nothing but a bit of bald scalp and 2 rock-hard frozen nipples poking through the ice layer on top. Well, now that Joe's stand-up cycle is finally closed, he'll be sent off to be with the other former greats, who have come and gone in and out of our lives like clouds that wisp together in the summer sky, where they are formed into ephemeral shapes, then blown away. And so we all too will blow away. So enjoy it while it lasts, guys. We'll all be gone soon, thank God. Appreciate each moment like it's your last, because it could be. Thanks for everything, Joe. Thank you for your service. I give this thing a 1 out of 5. Thanks. And sorry.
Wasn't that good?
Really well written. Impeccable bullshit.
Impeccable bullshit and solid delivery, just real deadpan.
Oh yeah, and I love his like connections that he made. Like, how did he notice the sniffing tick?
Right.
You know, it's crazy that like comedy right now is really big, but I feel like it's also kind of dying. The whole new wave of comedians, unfortunately, like Andrew Schultz, Joe Rogan, Kreishner, you know, they all kind of suck.
Yeah.
They're not that good. Comedians in the 90s or even the early 2000s, it's just incomparable. Like Anthony Jeselnik, very underrated.
He is funny.
He's so funny. I think Shane Gillis is kind of funny.
Yeah, I do too.
He's got some good bullshit.
Yeah.
Look at the top comment. I can type without looking at the keys is something Michael Scott would say. After seeing this, it looks like there are only 249 comedians left.
I wonder, like, did he not practice? Like, 'cause it seems like somebody would say, hey man, just let's bring the volume down a little bit.
I think it was nerves and anxiety.
Yeah.
Because think about how when you get anxious, your body language doesn't match what your brain is thinking.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like, he's got to be extra loud to fill the void of silence in that room.
Man, that had to be rough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but is it surprising? Is he any better than Andrew Schultz?
No, the thing, I haven't seen Joe Rogan's early stand-up in like the early 2000s.
I think it's
Is it good?
It's like that.
Oh, but the comedy has just evolved?
Yes.
Oh, and he's gotten older?
Yes. The Shane Gillis out of that whole crew and Theo Von.
I was going to say Theo Von's hilarious because he's just such a character.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of good Joe Rogan episodes. I think his podcast has some very interesting topics and he brings on very interesting characters. You know, I like him.
I like Joe Rogan too. I don't watch his podcast. I just watch clips, right? I mean, Does anybody listen to a 2-hour podcast anymore?
Yeah, I did in 2019 when that was buzzing.
Right.
I think during COVID, a lot of people hopped onto that, but I do think it's dying. The 2-hour long form podcast. That's why this podcast, I like to cut it more, make it more into a show, add a lot of B-roll into it, so it's just not so dragged out.
Yeah.
People got shit to do. You know what I mean? People don't want to stick around for a 2.5-hour podcast of two stoners talk about aliens.
Right.
That was very 2018-esque.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we got a new video coming soon where I camped for 5 days with no food or water. Somewhat of a survival challenge, even though I have no camping experience whatsoever.
I just realized I've only shit once the entire time I've been here. And it's been 4 days. I kind of miss pooping, I'm not gonna lie.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.